In every generation, there is a paradigm shift, a change so big that it redefines us. Mankind is always exploring, always pushing the envelope of what is possible.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Building, refining, changing into something new. The world around us is always changing. No matter how hard some may try to stop it, change is constant.
I have a dream today.
Innovation leads to evolution. Evolution becomes a revolution. And man will always strive for perfection. Once in a lifetime, someone leaps over the edge and forever changes the way we think.
Pinball 2000 was the last pinball hardware and software platform developed by major pinball manufacturer Williams, and was used in the machines Revenge from Mars under the brand name Bally and Star Wars Episode 1 under the brand name Williams, before Williams exited the pinball business on October 25, 1999. It is the successor to the Williams Pinball Controller WPC platform. Unlike previous pinball machines, Pinball 2000 machines feature a computer monitor to display animations, scores, and other information. The player perceives this video to be integrated with the playfield due to a mirrored back glass, utilizing an illusion called Pepper's Ghost. An illusion technique used in the theater, amusement parks, museums, television, and concerts. It is named after the English scientist John Henry Pepper, who popularized the effect in a demonstration in 1862. The mirror reflects the monitor hung in the head of the machine. This allows the display of virtual game targets in the playfield's upper third that can be hit by the machine's physical steel ball. Impacts on these targets are detected by physical targets in the middle of the playfield, and by recognizing successful shots up the left and right ramps and orbits. This innovative integration of pinball and video was inspired by the Asteroids Deluxe arcade machine, which used a one-way mirror to add a static background graphic to the game's animated vector graphics.
When we sat down to make this game, we made this huge list of everything that was negative and everything that was positive about the product as we know it.
We wanted to have a game that was reliable. We wanted to have a game that earned more money. We wanted to have a game that was more exciting.
Pinball 2000, as we know it, is a direct result of all of the things that were requested by operations and distribution.
Pinball 2000 is the next generation pinball platform. For the first time, video has been completely and successfully integrated into the pinball experience. The video image and the playfield have become one.
It's like physically interacting with a movie. Imagine that you have this real ball, this real 1 1/16 silver steel sphere, and that sphere, that ball, comes in contact with a video object, and it creates a reaction. And that video object appears to be almost a hologram, a real thing living in this world of wood and plastic. And that stuff feels like you're right there. It's not happening away from the playfield, it's happening on the playfield, right in front of you.
Revenge from Mars, the first of the two released games, sold a promising 6,878 units. However, Star Wars Episode 1 suffered from a rushed and top-secret production cycle and sold only about half as many units, 3,525, leading to Williams' decision to close down its historic pinball division.
Revenge from Mars is the first game ever for the Pinball 2000 system. The story unfolds before your eyes as your battle seamlessly travels between the real and virtual worlds within.
We've had tremendous fun taking the lore of these Martians coming to Earth and you fighting this battle to defend Earth and eventually get to Mars and take the battle back to Mars. And it's like playing a movie. It's more so like playing a movie than pinball has ever been.
Pinball today, starting now with Pinball 2000, will never be the same as it has been before. And I say that positively. It will never be the same. Whatever your preconceived notions have been for what pinball might present to the player, throw it out the window.
From a September 15, 2001 article titled Wizard Blocks, A Snapshot in Time by Jim Schilberg. In January 1999, Williams first showed its new pinball incarnation at the ATEI show in London, England. It was dubbed Pinball 2000, and the premiere game called Revenge from Mars. Pat Lawlor, along with George Gomez, developed the concept, and George led the design team creating the sequel to Williams' popular Attack from Mars.
It all began in the middle of a cornfield in Marengo, Illinois. If you can imagine this farmland, that's really where it began. You know, two guys in a garage with limited tools and limited time.
And so we locked ourselves up. George drove out here every day for a few weeks.
The very first thing I did was I built a proof of concept model. It's like quarter scale. As I started translating the sketches to the three-dimensional foam core model, I realized this is going to work.
So Pat and George threw together a prototype so that we could see what it was that they had in mind.
We actually built a prototype of what is now called Pin 2000. We called it a hollow pin. Fired it up using George's old Amiga and played with where we wanted the image and how we wanted it to look and all of that.
And when we were done, we threw this thing in the back of Pat's truck and drove it in, and what we had became Pinball 2000.
Although this first effort was revolutionary in many ways, it was well known that the evolutionary process from game to game was needed for the form to mature. Next came John Papadike and his Star Wars Episode 1. This second game built on the first as it advanced the use of video graphics and interactive action to a new level. Then came number 3. Pat Lawlor, Williams' senior designer and co-creator of the Pin 2000 concept, was given the task of moving forward, keeping what was good and answering the concerns some customers had about the previous 2 games. It was an exciting time for pinball, but there was an undercurrent of danger. Then came Pinball Expo 99 and the scheduled speech from George Gomez about Pinball 2000. The lecture hall was literally filled to the brim, with many forced to listen from the hallway. George gave a very emotional speech that had everyone there, hobbyists and industry person alike, riveted to each word. Nothing was final, things were shaky but okay. Pat Lawlor's third game would keep it all going. But 2 days later, that very next Monday morning, Williams Pinball Division employees came to work to find that their pinball was done. Stopped dead. As of October 25th, 1999, Williams Pinball was no more. So what happened to the Pat Lawlor game? It stopped also. Unfinished, barely playable, this not yet a game sat in storage for the past 20 months. There have been little or no details of this game released until now. Gene Cunningham of Bloomington, Illinois, recently acquired the one working Whitewood, along with 4 additional playfields in various stages of completion. The following is from an interview conducted with Pat Lawlor about this game. The basic concept of the game was one where the gameplay mechanics had you knocking down a little brick or block wall. There had been many video games where that happened. My feeling was that since we were trying to integrate a video into a pinball machine, we'd try to integrate a game mechanic that everybody understood right away. They'd walk up to it and they'd just want to break up parts of the wall. Then I evolved the storyline where there were things hidden in the blocks. There was an evil kind of wizard guy who put the stuff in them, and it was your job to get it out. Some of the blocks just gave you points. Some of the blocks had an extra ball, and some of the blocks were actually spell outs. You'd hit different things like BALL on the blocks if there were 4 across, and you'd get an extra ball. The idea was that occasionally there was this thing that would drop down called a wizard block. The deal was that this evil wizard had put other wizards in these blocks, and so when they were freed, they appeared on the left side of the game in that area by the jet bumpers. At that point, the wizard conjured up a challenge for the player to meet. There were 5 different kinds of wizards and 5 different challenges. You saw the Jack-in-the-Box. That was from the little kid wizard. He conjured up his own challenge based on what he was. The kid wizard conjures up an evil Jack-in-the-Box. It was then up to the player to defeat the challenge. In the case of the Jack-in-the-Box, you pounded on him and he exploded. However, that sequence was never completed. It's not done correctly. The Jack-in-the-Box was supposed to have the ability to do many things. He was supposed to have the ability to fight back. There were parts of the game that were very unique in that the characters were allowed to attack you. They could do things like actually shoot missiles, and then they were able to rebuild themselves. Pat Lawlor went on to say, "My background out of college is theater, so a great deal of what you saw on the playfield of Wizard Blocks is using stage lighting to make sure that you could see the jet bumpers, and still have that part of the playfield that you were playing the Pin 2000 concept on." There was a great deal of work done on that area in the game to answer some of the early complaints about George's game. But in all fairness to George, we were never given time to turn that into what it really needed to be. Pinball, the way we know it, has taken 50 years to evolve. Pin 2000 was given 9 months to evolve into something, and then it was killed. You can't do 50 years of evolution in 9 months. The Wizard Blocks game was never finished. When the plug got pulled on Williams, everything shut down. A man named Gene Cunningham owns the prototypes. The footage you're seeing in this video is from some other YouTube channels and the prototype machine that Gene has. He also owns the other prototype for game number 4 that was planned, a Playboy machine. The original design being a haunted house game that was also scrapped by Williams and turned into a more adult theme of Playboy, which was in turn also scrapped when Williams shut their doors. There was also a Monopoly game planned, but I couldn't find any footage of that or pictures online. Interesting tidbit, the first generation mock-up prototype of the Pinball 2000 architecture, you saw it earlier, it was called the Hollow Pin. It used designer George Gomez's old Amiga computer to drive the video display, and a no-good Gophers Whitewood prototype playfield. So that's pretty cool. Did Pinball 2000 revolutionize the industry? Absolutely not. Could it have, had it been given the chance? I think so. I really like playing Revenge from Mars. It's one of my favorite pinball machines to play out in the wild. Star Wars Episode 1 is not bad either. It gets a lower rating generally on the scale of which one is better. There's only 2 to pick from. Hey you guys, thanks so much for watching this episode of The Lost Pins. I really enjoy bringing this info to y'all and finding out stuff for myself as well. It's fascinating to me. Like, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know what has been your favorite episode of Season 1 so far. This is the longest episode I've put out, and I think it wraps up Season 1 nicely. Thanks! Captain!
Captnretro, Captnretro Show.